Hello, I'm Rory, and welcome to Film Studies for YouTube. Today I'm going to be discussing Andre Bazin's essay, What is Cinema?, and the significance of its argument. What is cinema? Bazin's essay is essentially a bridge between two distinct eras and styles within filmmaking. First, the eras of silent and sound films, and second, the style of montage and mise-en-scène. Both of these components go hand in hand. To begin with, Bazin identifies that there were two different styles of filmmaking when silent films were at their peak, one being montage and the other being mise-en-scène. For our purposes, we'll boil this down to form, montage, and content, mise-en-scène. By 1928, both of these styles of filmmaking had reached their zenith, the crown jewels of form being that of the Soviet films, such as Dziga Vertov's masterpiece Man with a Movie Camera, and Sergei Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin. Both exhibited two distinct yet equally powerful forms of Soviet montage theory, but were also examples of how, in some cases, the enticing ambiguity of cinematic storytelling had disappeared. Take, for instance, the famous Odessa staircase sequence from Battleship Potemkin. The amount of visual metaphor expressed through the use of montage is quite stunning and leaves a definite calculated impact upon the viewer. Cutting between the shot of the mother, the swan belt buckle, the crowd being attacked, and back to the belt buckle can be interpreted as the mother representing the death of the Soviet people by the hands of the Tsarist regime. The sequence of the pram cascading down the steps further emphasizes the death of something pure and innocent. The people are lambs being slaughtered by the Tsarist regime, which oppressively continues forward, constantly pushing down and crushing the people with every step. This usage of montage as a way of creating meaning can be seen, in a more extreme form, within Vertov's epic Man with a Movie Camera. Vertov's usage of montage is literally pushed to the point of near incomprehension. Blistering cuts between a frantic eye and the city swirling around creates a sense of utter confusion, as if Vertov is trying to say that everything has become almost too much to handle. It's fitting that this sequence of edits occurs almost right at the halfway mark of the film, as if the film itself is expressing its own bewilderment at the assortment of images that have come before. As well, Vertov believes that it was through editing, not mise-en-scène, that one can create something cinematic. On the opposite side of the spectrum were filmmakers who lauded content as the true propellant of filmmaking. Films such as Carl Dreyer's The Passion of Joan of Arc, Charlie Chaplin's City Lights, and F.W. Murnau's Sunrise: A Song of Two Humans were focused on how to truly express emotion, drama, and character on the screen through content rather than form. Take for instance this scene from Joan of Arc. Dreyer is allowing the content, Falconetti's facial expressions, to be the main focus and driving force of the audience's experience. With his extreme usage of close-ups and a stark, bleached mise-en-scène, Dreyer is using what is before the camera rather than montage to tell his story. This usage of content to convey meaning over form can also be seen in the boxing scene in Chaplin's City Lights, where size, tones, and movement are utilized to convey the message of the scene. As well, it can also be viewed in Sunrise: A Song of Two Humans to express the disparity between two different worlds and women the protagonist is involved with. On one hand, there is his wife, bathed in a soft, angelic white light that appears to emanate off her and onto everything within the room. The brightest object in the room during this shot is the child, further reinforcing the purity and wholesomeness of the subjects in the setting as well. The scene of purity is directly contrasted by the dark, heavy shadows which envelop the exterior the protagonist is in. Searching for his mistress, he has entered a world which is in direct visual contrast to that of his home. When he does reach her, the only light source is that of the moon, its light a reflection of the sun's, which in turn can be interpreted as a metaphor for this other world and other woman. They are a lesser reflection of the world he has left behind. It is through these powerful uses of mise-en-scène that the audience is allowed to contribute their own ideas of the meaning of the film as well. These films, and others, encourage an active audience, a marvelous thing that was about to change.
Blue skies, smiling at me. Nothing but blue skies do I see. Oh, to.
After 3 decades of life, all the rules, notions, and perceptions of what cinema was were about to be blown up. After the rise of the talkies and the death of silent cinema, filmmakers became more focused on sound and montage to convey the meaning of their films, rather than using mise-en-scène. This led to the rise of what would be labeled as classical filmmaking within mainly Western cinema. The best example of this would be Hollywood films at the time, which guided their audience through the story by editing from a wide establishing shot to close-ups to gradually focusing in the viewer's attention to a specific subject, such as in this sequence from The Bad and the Beautiful. The film sets up the scene with a wide shot of a general location, transitioning to a more specific location, then transitioning to the principal subjects, and yada yada yada, till here we are where the audience is being told where and when to look due to the film's very construction. Not to say this is a bad form of filmmaking, it does serve a purpose and is a very effective form of storytelling, but something has been lost since the peak of silent films. What that is the primary usage of mise-en-scène, of content, and how it can shape an audience's perspective of a film just as well, or better, as montage and sound can.
You, on the mark!
In 1941, shortly after he had turned 26, Orson Welles' monumentous film Citizen Kane was released. What made Citizen Kane so remarkable was, from Bazin's perspective, it acted as a cinematic bridge between the peak of the silent era and what was then currently possible within cinema. Specifically, it was a perfect marriage between the focused usage of mise-en-scène and the power of sound and montage. Welles explicitly challenged the traditional cinematic style of his time, primarily through his groundbreaking use of cinematography.
Welles' insistence on universal focus throughout the movie was a challenge for Toland, but the director had his reasons for wanting everything in focus. All movies, he said, seem to be shot the same way: foreground in focus, background out of focus. The eye doesn't see things that way. I want the audience to see everything as they would in life.
This was all possible by Welles' insistence on using wide lenses and deep focus.
Welles did this, and he did it with such conviction and with such brilliance that you began to realize, I see the camera moves, and I began noticing camera movement because he used that wide-angle lens a great deal.
Tools which allowed for the mise-en-scène of his films to carry the meaning he wished to convey to the audience. By coupling this with montage, Welles was able to create a contrast between two different perspectives of expressing time. This made for a stronger film and had a greater impact upon the audience. Citizen Kane also represents a return to creative ambiguity within cinema as well. Unlike Vertov and Eisenstein, Welles allowed his audience to cut the film with their own eyes. By holding his shots and maintaining deep focus, Welles allowed each audience member to, in essence, cut their own personal version of Citizen Kane depending on where, what, and when they were looking at the screen. This freedom for the audience to view the film as they wish is a tremendous gift from Welles, and is something that is rarely seen in mainstream movies today. This all comes back around to what Bazin is ultimately stating within his essay. He believes deep focus is a capital gain in the field of direction, a dialectical step forward in the history of film language. It influences the interpretation of the spectacle by affecting the relationship between the audience and the image. What Bazin is attempting to do is to lay out the bedrock of what cinema is, and how it has shifted over time. He isn't trying to put over one style of filmmaking over another, but instead attempting to illustrate the sum is greater than the parts. This is what cinema is, a continual evolution of ideas, theories, and ideologies that is still being written to this day. As long as the films from the past continue to be seen, this evolution within cinema will continue to occur.